Hello, everybody. Welcome to Country Then and Now. We are joined this week by one of the legendary voices of country music, pop music, Broadway, the one and only Gary Morris. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing good. How's everything up in Colorado with you?
It's great. We got a little snow last week, but it's sunshiny and bright, and it might brisk, as they say down in New Zealand. It's been getting down in the 20s.
Yeah, you can keep the snow in the 20s. I'm going to take 65 in Fort Worth. So,
all right.
We got a lot to talk about. You have been at this for about over 50 years from the time you started singing in school, correct?
Holy cow! That's telling everybody that I.
Do we have you?
Hello? Can you hear
Hello.
me?
There you are.
Yeah. So, 50 years. It's like starting over every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
can you hear me? Are we all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think there's a little bit of a delay. So, you froze. Okay. I tell you what, let's get this worked out. We'll go ahead and play a song that was not really on the list of what we're going to play while we work the technical issues out.
Okay.
This is Baby Bye Bye. This is Gary Morris on Country Then and Now.
There were 14 reasons for saying goodbye, like the look on her face and the look in her eye, and the way that she broke the man down, left the man in pieces here on sinking ground. There were 14 nights when she didn't come by, and 14 days when she left the man wondering why he even bothered to try. So baby, bye-bye. On the outside, baby, such a pretty girl. On the inside, baby, ain't so pretty. Pretty soon she'll find a lonely little world, and there'll be one less man that the girl can bring down. One less man with his eyes on the ground and his heart in his hands for the day. No more promises for baby to break. There'll be one less man with a tear in his eye. One less man who'll be hanging around wondering why he even bothered to try. So baby, bye-bye. On the outside, baby, such a pretty girl. On the inside, baby, ain't so pretty. Pretty soon she'll find a lonely little world, and there'll be one less man that the girl can count on. One less man she'll find hanging strong to the dream that she could ever change now. Comes to changing, baby, don't know how. Baby, such a pretty girl. There'll be one less man with a tear in his eye. One less man who'll be hanging around wondering why he even bothered to try. So baby, bye-bye. Baby, bye-bye. Baby, bye-bye. Baby, bye-bye. Baby, bye-bye. Baby, bye-bye.
Baby Bye by Gary Morris on Countryland now. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I can hear you now. I can. So, anyway, yeah, I was asking you about just hitting on the over 50 years in show business and performing and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But you started out, I believe I read in your bio when you were 9 with your sister performing in school.
Yeah, I got a lot of lessons. It was a school talent show, and my twin sister was playing the piano, and I sat on a bale of hay and sang, "This old house once knew my children. This old house once knew my wife." This is called "This Old House."
Yep.
Third grade, and well, unfortunately, we won the talent show. Well, third graders aren't supposed to win. It's supposed to be the fourth, fifth, or sixth graders. So
Okay.
what I found out over over my high school years is those people that lost, that were in my same school, went up, and they were all, it was like I'd created an enemies list because that just wasn't supposed to happen, which it made me somewhat prepared for life after school, because the competitiveness of business, and my business was music. So, but that happened in the third grade. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And somewhere along the way, you took a back, sports took a back seat, music took a front seat. When did you figure out this is what you wanted to do as a career?
Well, I went to school on an athletic scholarship. And after my sophomore year, a buddy of mine from all the way back in the fifth grade called me up and said, "Hey, we're going to Colorado for a summer. You want to go up and we'll get some kind of job doing something?" And he had a buddy, and they sang. They were at Texas Tech, and they sang in a group. And I said, "Yeah, I'll go." So I hopped in the car, went to Colorado, and without telling all the long details, we got a gig. We were working day jobs, living in Boulder, and there was a place up on the hill called Tulagis, and which was kind of a rock and roll joint. The big acts came through, and across the street was a place that sold hamburgers and pizza, and we were broke. We didn't have any money. It was when we first arrived, and I'd prepaid our deposit on an apartment. And so we got this job singing for tips and meals. And it progressed. And I got a job. Then we got a place over in Denver at Taylor Supper Club as a trio. And here, what the owner said, "I'll give you each," there was three of us, $100 a week. And all I want you to do is, we did a Hank Williams medley. We did, I think I sang Gentle on My Mind. And we had to do 20 minutes twice a night. And every week for 10 weeks, he gave us each $100 a week raise. So 10 weeks, which was basically the summer, I was making $1,000 a week, and I was singing 30 minutes a night. And the other two boys, one of them was already an architect, and he had a full-time job. And Eddie stayed, and we played on for another year or so. Then he left. So I just decided this is what I'm going to do. And I played some gigs solo. Then we left Colorado, went back to Euless, and I was playing a sit-down gig at a Holiday Inn in the afternoon, and just barely surviving. And what flipped it all was there was an article in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram about keeping Jimmy Carter off the ballot. was not a political guy, but I read this article and I said, well, it was Lloyd Benson. He was trying to keep Carter from not being on the ballot in Texas. And I thought, well, that's not right. I mean, why can't, he didn't have enough names or whatever on a petition. So I called the head of the Democratic Party and said, what is this? Why don't we get to evaluate any candidate? And she said, that's the rules. But if you want to go out and petition. So I took a little trio and we went out and we got names on a Saturday and I turned them in. And I said, well, that's the end of my political career. I've done something for the good or the bad or whatever it is.
Right.
And right after that, Casey, a week later, I got a call from a guy named Jody Powell. And he said, we heard that you did some work for the governor in Texas. I said, well, not really. I mean, we went out and did some petitioning work. And he said, well, the head of the county there said that you were a singer. And I said, yeah, a little trio. I said, well, we want to hear you sing because maybe when the governor comes to Texas, you could open up for him. I said, okay, whatever. So he flew in with a guy named Frank Moore, who ended up being his congressional liaison. And we set up a little trio, played some songs. And this was on a Monday. And he said, can you be in Asheville, North Carolina on Friday? I said, well, what for? He said, well, it's the governor's first really big in an arena event. And we need somebody to open it. So wow. I said, yeah. He said, all we have is $500 we can pay you. And they were waiting for matching funds or something. So I loaded up my Chevy van, the trio. We drove to Asheville, North Carolina. We went on stage and played. And I mean, it was a mixed crowd, black and white, arena full. And they kept going, Stretch, he's not here yet. And finally they said, he's here off stage. So I had put together this called American Trilogy. Elvis sang it, and you know, it was Battle Hymn of the Republic, and blah, blah, blah. It's 3 songs. Mm-hmm. And I wrote this recitation because we'd just gone through Watergate. And I said, you know, we've been through the worst time since the Civil War, Watergate, and blah, 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 blah. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States, who I had not met, never spoken to, Jimmy Carter. And he walked out on stage and we still had to sing glory, glory, hallelujah. And he walked out and went to the other microphone and tried to sing with us. And this place just erupted. And they were standing and cheering. And I mean, it was his first major event.
Wow.
And we got off stage. They grabbed us and said, can you do the next 14 days? And I ended up singing at Madison Square Garden and all these places. And then eventually, I mean, I did probably 100 dates. I rode in the back of station wagons, and we did the Whistle Stop tour, and then played election night at the Omni, a little trio. And Charlie Daniels was supposed to follow me, and the news anchor came over and said, you got to put Gary and them back on because we can't do our breaks with this much noise, but they can. So I ended up playing all night at the Omni with all these people there, and then the inaugural ball and blah, blah, blah. And so
wow,
I ended up playing music because that's what I was supposed to do, I guess. I mean, that's how it started. And I'll put an exclamation point on it. They were having an event at the White House. This is like 2 years later, called CMA Night, and you had Loretta Conway, Tom T. Hall, just a whole bunch of them. And I was invited. We were just sitting in the audience, guest, and they all did their performance. And then we went into the East Room to eat. And then the president stands up and says, now I want y'all, we're going to go back in and have an old time guitar pull. So we left, and he walked up on the front of the stage and said, now I want y'all to hear my favorite singer. And I went, oh, no. So he said, Gary Morris, and I came up, and I sang a Larry Gatlin song, and he was in the audience, called Penny Annie, and then one of mine. And fast forward, we left, and record companies were calling me, and they wanted to do this and all this. And finally, a few years later, I came back to Nashville and decided I'm going to try to make records. And I finally got an appointment with Norro Wilson at Warner Brothers. I didn't get an appointment. I just went up there and said, I'm here to see Norro. And they said, do you have an appointment? And I said, no. And he said, well, he's busy. And I said, I'll wait. And I sat down. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning. About 1 o'clock in the afternoon, he comes out of his office and says, are you here to see me? I said, are you Norro Wilson? He says, I am. And I stood up, and he goes, did you sing at the White House? I said, I did. And he put his arm around me and took me into his office and said, man, I would have signed you right then. But I was working with a guy, Con Hunley, and I thought, y'all might be conflicting. And he took me into the office and listened to a cassette of some songs and called LA and says, I have a guy I want to sign to Warner Brothers. He said, do you have an attorney? I'm shaking my head, no. And he goes, yeah, he has one. And and he said, no, I don't want anybody else to hear him. Okay. Put the phone down and said, you're on Warner Brothers. He sent me over to Warner Brothers Music. That's how I decided I was going to do music for a living.
Wow.
It's pretty bizarre.
You're performing for the president of the United States before you ever have a record contract.
Yeah. It was, now, and I was just tickled to death. And went in and cut the first record.
Yeah.
And that's Headed for Heartache.
That's headed for a heartache. Yeah.
And there's a story that goes along with that. I don't want to waste all your time, but I hated that song. I went, this is just so, it's so trite. Why am I? And the guy who was head of A&R at Warner Brothers literally ripped his phone out of the wall and said, you artists think you know everything. And I went, whoa, wait a minute. I'll record the song. And we made, I think, a pretty good record out of it. And so it kind of kicked it all off.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and play that.
Oh, cool.
One that brought you to the dance, so to speak. This is Headed for a Heartache. Gary Morris on Country Then and Now.
I'm headed for a heartache. Better stop before it's too late. It's a chance that I gotta take. 'Cause I fell in love. I'm headed for hard times. That girl just blows my mind. I'm blinded by love this time. And I'm headed for a heartache. I should have listened. My friends all warned me. They swore she'd take my heart and run. She was so tempting. I didn't heed their warning. Now she's got me where I wanna be. My trouble's just begun. I'm headed for a heartache. Better stop before it's too late. It's a chance that I gotta take. 'Cause I fell in love, headed for a hard time. That girl just
Headed for a Heartache. Gary Morris on Country Then and Now. And that was the one off of the self-titled debut that kind of brought you to the dance, so to speak.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I had Paul Worley and Marshall Morgan were the producers on it, and Paul Worley is the one that's playing all the lead guitar and the solos. And there's several songs off that particular record that showcased his not only ability to play guitar, which he's a masterful guitarist, but his production chops. And it gave me a leg up. I think the next single was "Don't Look Back," and so that album was did well enough to get me to do a second album and a third one and whatever.
The second album was probably the one that when people say Gary Morris, one of the songs on Why Lady Why is the one that's associated with you the most, I think, and that's "Wind Beneath My Wings."
Right. And I tell you, Larry Hanley and Jeff Silbar wrote that, and I was in the next room writing with Eddie Setzer, and if I had just walked in that room and added a comma or a question mark or a line, I would have been a writer on that, and that would have made all the difference. But Martha Sharp, who was head of A&R at that time at Warner Brothers, had got a cassette of the demo they were doing and gave it to me, and I said, I need to sing this. So the thing about if you have a great song, I mean, my idea is that you need to get out of the way of the song and let people hear the song.
Right.
So we cut that record. There's only Reggie Young plays that guitar line, da 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 da, an acoustic guitar player, a bass player, and a drummer, and I sang it live. That was it. And then I went in with Steve Tillish, who was the engineer, to mix it. And we just put everything in place and put a little reverb, just a little something to sweeten it up. And the most interesting part about it, Casey, we sent it to LA and said, this will be the next single. And I was out playing on the Warner Brothers softball team. It was in the summer. And this limo comes around and pulls up. Dust is flying. And they said, Gary, we need to get you on the phone in the limo. And I went in there, and it was LA saying, hey, we got the parts for your record, but not all of them arrived. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, there's just like an acoustic guitar and a little thing and you singing. And I said, well, that's it. And the guy from LA says, are you trying to kill your career? I mean, you've had Headed for a Heartache and Don't Look Back, some up-tempo thing. I said, that's it. And Jimmy Bowen, who was running Warner Brothers at that time, told his crew, he said, don't let this one die. And I didn't really know how it all worked, but the regional guys, they just kept working it, and eventually all but 2 radio stations in the country were playing it. Alan Dick over at IVK, I called him. I said, would you play this song? Because I did their free show. George Strait and I did it together in the stadium. And Alan said, Gary, it's just 4 minutes of dead air. I said, okay, do me a favor. I did your show on Saturday night after the bars close at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Play it one time. And he called me that Monday and said, I guess I missed that one. I played it one time, and the phones lit up all the way until noon the next day, people wanting to hear that song again. And that's kind of how it worked. I guess it was so radically different from everything they were playing, but it worked. And I love the fact that I have a really great piece of material to sing when I go out and play.
And I believe you were the first artist to record that long before Bette Midler and some of the others.
Well, yeah, it was the first single. It was in 1982, and she won a Grammy for her version in the movie in 88 or 89. But it was interesting because it actually put in the Grammy program that original version was by Gary Morris. So, but yeah, it won Song of the Year for the ACM and the CMA both. And I mean, you love being able to go on stage and sing something like that.
Yeah. Well, this is it. This is Wind Beneath My Wings off of Why Lady Why, Gary Morris on Country Then and Now.
It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You've been content to let me shine. You always walked a step behind. I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. Only a face without a name. I never once heard you complain. Did you ever know that you're my hero? And everything I'd like to be. I can fly higher than an eagle, 'cause you are the wind beneath my wings. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, but I've got it all here in my heart. I want you to know I know the truth. I would be nothing without you. Did you ever know that you're my hero? And everything
Gary Morris on Country Then and Now, Wind Beneath My Wings. That song, I believe, is where people started seeing what you can really do vocally. Because, like you said, you had up tempos up to that point with Heartache, Velvet Chains, that type of thing. But I
Yeah.
believe that song is where people started seeing the depth of your range. Is that kind of what the catalyst was for Broadway later on?
Well, yeah, you know, I didn't grow up in a social family. The only singing we really did, what I did, was at a Baptist church, and all the music in my house that was played, my dad picked, and it was everybody named Hank, and
Hank,
you
Hank
know,
Williams.
and also like the Glenn Miller Orchestra or something. And they, you know, we had one of those little stereos where the records would drop, you know, and I'd go to bed saying, "Boy, I hope I'll go to sleep before Hank drops." And so I didn't really know. I really didn't know anything about the music business. We weren't. It wasn't. We weren't a social type family. It was. I have a twin sister and a younger brother, and mom and dad, and you know, dad worked hard. My mom was valedictorian of his school, and my dad quit school in the fourth grade and was picking cotton and helping his family survive. So it wasn't your normal kind of thing. And I, I the only singing I ever did was, I mean, growing up was in a Baptist church. And if I emulated anybody the way I sang, it was a music director in the Baptist church. And then, of course, I went to Colorado and started singing. And I'd always written songs. And what Wind Beneath My Wings did was told me, it said, well, I don't have to do a 3-chord shuffle up tempo stuff. I can sing some songs with melodies and lyrics that I think are important. Like one was The Love She Found in Me, which is just a great song. Bob Morrison, and that song was in the top 5 along with Wind Beneath My Wings the year that Wind won Song of the Year. And I believe The Love She Found in Me had been the next year, it would have won Song of the Year. It's just a great song. And so when Wind was successful, it gave me the I think permission to do a little more ballad stuff. And we every record we still had some up tempo stuff on it and I even remember, Casey, when I was talking to a radio guy somewhere when the Plain Brown Rapper album came up, and he said, okay, did you make this record for us or did you make this record for you again? And I'm going, I don't really understand the question. I said, this is where I am and this is the record. But the Love She Found in Me was really when it did so well, it really kind of cemented that I can do other things. And I didn't want to go to New York and do La Boheme with Linda Ronstadt, and I love her, but I was touring and I kept turning it down. I didn't even want to go sing for them. They wanted me to come. They wanted to hear this country guy come sing. So I finally went up and sang for them. And my piano player in my band he read music. He played with the Augusta Symphony. My whole band was from down in Augusta. And so I took him to New York. We went up and I sang for the aria from La Boheme, which I learned in the back of my bus driving through the South. And I walked out and I went, they're going to, I'm sitting there, they're sitting there, probably 15 guys to hear me sing. They started like this, and then pretty soon they were going, and I'm going, oh no, they're going to give me this role, and I really don't want to do it. And they gave, I went up, and the newspapers in New York said they've gone crazy over at Public Theater. They're hiring a country singer to yodel Rodolfo. So I took advantage of it because there was just 4 guys in the cast and three girls, but the 4 guys were, and I was a poet, there's a writer, blah, 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 blah. Setting, the story, which I didn't know before I went. But every night, or at least maybe 3 out of 4 nights, while we were backstage before we went on, I goes, tonight's the night. What? I'm yodeling Rodolfo tonight. And they never knew whether I would or not. But yeah, Wynn gave me a chance to kind of branch out. I owe a career to that song.
Yeah. You've got some new stuff you're working on too. One of the things that I really like is a new song that you sent me to listen to and play on this show called I'm in Church. Is that off of a new album that's forthcoming?
That's off the last current album that released. And there's 2 songs on that album I really like. I'm in Church, and I know it's called Paint Me a Rainbow, or Paint Me a River. And both of them I wrote down in New Zealand with in a duck blind with my co-writer that I write with. And we walked out and he goes, where does that come from? And I said, it's just something about us in a duck blind that makes me think about other things. And I'll probably write something, Casey, when we're done about you and I having this interview. It'll probably be on a record. That's the way my mind works.
Please
what I
don't.
have left of it at 75.
So you wrote this in a duck blind in New Zealand.
Yeah, and it's really how I feel about things. I mean, I'm an avid outdoor guy. I had a show for a while, the North American Sportsman.
Yep.
I've been hunting and fishing my whole life, and so I'm in church.
Yeah, let's go ahead and play it. This is Gary
Right.
Morris.
When the wind drifts down the hollow and the sun creeps through the oaks, quiet turns to chatter. I'm the guest, not the host. A crow calls in the morning, my decoy set in place. Number 5s are waiting, my heart begins to race. A pitch down, then a gobble, another then a strut. The decoy does its magic, a single shot's enough. I'm in church. Don't need someone to join me or someone to anoint me. The quiet in the chaos is reason to be here. I'm in church. And this you can't deny me. It's wholly real inside me. No bricks, no mortar here. Just God and guest, I'm clear. I'm in church. Springtime turns to summer and the waters start to warm. With the timing of a drummer, the flies begin to swarm. Choose a fly, a worm, or other. The bait is not the game. It's a meal, a sport, my lover, and I'll always take the blame. I'm It's wholly real inside me. No bricks, no mortar here. Just God and guest, I'm clear. I'm in church. Fall grabs me by the collar. These mountains make me smaller. Pines and aspen blind me. Elk above and deer behind me. All these moments still unwind me. December chills me to the bone. Ducks and geese leaving home, heading south, and now I'm waiting. Over quick, and that I'm hating, but soon it starts all again. Hallelujah, I can say amen. I'm in church. I'm in church. I'm in church.
I'm in church. Gary Morris on Country Then and Now. That is amazing.
Well, I really
I love
like that. You like that song?
love that.
It gets a great response live, and I've had so many guys and women too that have come up to me and said, "I know exactly where you are when you sang that."
Mhm.
And you know, it's about being one with nature, and I'm an outside guy. You know, I've been that. My dad took me on my first duck hunt at age 3. I mean, I had a little jumpsuit on. I have a twin sister, and she waited in the car. It really was a hike down to a little pond, and he held up a little 22, and I got to shoot at a stick in the water, and that was my first hunting trip. And so, yeah, outside, and that's not to cast some kind of disparaging remark on bricks and mortar, but for
Right.
me, it's a glimpse at something's a little more real.
And living in Colorado, you still get to do hunting quite a bit up around that area, or do you try to?
Oh yeah,
Do you?
I actually outfitted for I had 5,000 acres leased, and owned another 6,000, and we called the club at Mountain Spirit, and for 5 years we'd have people come in and we'd outfit and hunt for elk and mule deer and bear and whatever. So my front door, I can go out on my porch and I'm looking at the Continental Divide. I'm at 8,000 feet and it's at 12, but
Oh, wow.
I'm looking at it and it's a mile away. That's how close I am. And I have a mile of river on my property here. So it's a fly fishing dream come true. And we still have some people that come up from time to time and just go fish. And it's 30 miles to town. So it's a cool place. I'm lucky. I'm really lucky.
Yeah, good deal. And you're still doing some touring, still doing some recording, so people still can
Yeah,
find you and come see you.
I play just out of Dallas on December 21st. I'm playing. I've got a little Christmas tour, which I love to do. And I've got 2 Christmas albums, and so I go out. A lot of what I'm doing now, and it caught me by surprise, is little private parties. I'm talking about home, block parties and people who are fans, and they say, "Hey, we got a backyard, and we want we'll have 30 people or 20 people, neighbors over, and we'd love for you to come do a set. And it was like, I said, well, I'm not cheap.
Right.
It takes a little bit for me to leave home now. So, but I do quite a few of them, and
Good.
it's fun. It's real personal.
Yeah.
It's like right there. You're in their lap or they're in yours. One.
Whole different ball game playing to 50 people as opposed to 5,000 or 500.
That's correct.
So,
That's correct.
well, Gary, I appreciate you doing this. You hope you and yours have a blessed and happy Thanksgiving next week. You got family coming over? Or are you doing?
It'll just be me and my wife, and there's actually a couple down the street that are friends and they're both cops. She's on a horse patrol, and he's in a car in Pagosa Springs, and
Okay.
And we've become close friends. And we're going to have Thanksgiving together.
Well, good deal. Well, I wish you the best. Thank you for doing this, and I'm going to try to come see you when you're down this way next month.
Cool, man. Nice. Thanks for having me on your show.
You bet. Y'all take
All right.
care and love one another. We'll see you next week. God bless.
All right.